Welcome to the Young Saints Leadership Podcast, where we're going to be talking about all things youth, from leadership culture to supernatural youth ministry and discipling revivalist. We hope you guys enjoy.
Hey.
What's up?
Welcome back.
Glad you guys are with us today.
Yes.
Here we are, yet again.
Back.
We have an exciting topic for you.
Yeah.
That will be a sequel to what we've talked. Sequel, right? Not prequel. Yeah, sequel. I had to think about that for a second.
Yes.
Anyway, fun fact time.
Fun fact.
You guys ready for this?
Yes.
They didn't know I was going to do this. So we're going to do a fun fact. What was your favorite year of school from kindergarten through high school?
Ooh, that's a great question.
While they're thinking, if you've never just looked up like the top
think I
20
know
songs of your graduation year, it's just a fun fact.
It'll be awesome.
Or the year you were born. Check it out.
That's even more fun.
I think
Anyway.
I know mine.
Go.
It would be my 11th grade year
Yeah.
because I felt like I knew enough and had enough power to be able to do what I want. I remember it was the year that I built so much trust with my mom. And she said this quote and I'll never forget it. And I'm walking with Jesus at the time. But when she said this, I felt so empowered. She said, Dante, I can trust you to the point where if you were gone at 4 a.m., I would be okay. And I felt so like an adult.
Yes.
And
Awesome.
and I also had like 4 classes because I'd done like most of my school and I was doing nursing at the time. And so I would leave campus to go work at this hospital. And
You felt like such a grown
oh
up.
yeah, and I was doing spoken word on the weekends,
awesome.
going to like other cities. I was having so much fun. I remember my 11th grade year.
That's
yeah.
a good one.
Yeah.
What about you, Rory?
Man, I think I would say probably my senior year because I was really, really excited to be done with school. I just was like excited to try to get to college, and then I never even went to college, but
Yeah.
I so badly wanted to get to college. I love learning. So when I finally got to that grade where I was like, I feel like I'm actually learning stuff that
You're
is
such a learner.
oh, I love it. So I was like, this is awesome. And I was like getting prepped for all these college things. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, probably my senior year, not to get out of school. I was looking forward to the more of school. You know, that was that kid.
Yeah, I was not that kid. Definitely not. I don't know what mine would be. It'd probably be 11th or 12th grade. 12th grade was awesome because I only had to go to school like half the year because
That's nice.
in Utah, they give extra classes to what they call seminary. And I didn't take seminary, so I had extra credit, so I could graduate half a year early and
Oh, wow.
be totally fine, which was awesome. Anyway,
Nice.
but I was ready to be out of school. I was like, bye.
Yeah.
Love
yeah,
you
yeah.
all. Actually, I don't love you
that.
all because I grew up in Utah. There was like 1,000 people in my graduating class. So like,
Crazy.
I didn't know
Yeah, you didn't
half
know-
those
yeah,
people.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like never seen me
So I was
before.
like, okay, we're done. We're moving on.
Mari didn't know 990 of those people.
That's probably true.
Let's talk about real. Mari in high school, it wasn't half. Mari's
yeah.
like, I had my group of friends. I, know.
That's me. I had my group of people.
I
And it
had
was
my
enough.
people and I was good. Everybody else, I
I mean,
don't
like
even
I knew
know.
people, but I would be like, yeah, let's hang out totally. And then we never went because I didn't care enough. So it's great.
Oh my God.
Anyway, to our topic today, we're going to talk about something totally different than all of that. But here we are. We're going to talk about marriage, ministry, and kids. Part 2.
Kids.
We've already done marriage and ministry. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. But we're going to add the kids into
when you
this.
start having them babies.
It changes everything.
So today's
Yes.
podcast is how do you have children? So we're going to talk through that. So don't even
process.
worry the process.
We've created diagrams for you. No, just
We
kidding.
have it figured out.
Welcome to your 7th grade health class.
No,
Yes.
God.
it's so
Oh,
funny.
no.
Oh, just kidding. We are not going to do that.
Let's start with how many kids we have and their ages.
Well, Rory and I are married, so
Yes.
we have 3 daughters.
3 little
and
girls.
that is all that we will have,
Done.
unless the Lord really does a miracle. And so,
It would have to be supernatural.
yeah,
At this point.
let's just say that. Anyway, so Brooklyn is our oldest. She is 6. Harper is almost 4, but she's still 3, a couple months away. And then Kinsley is 15 months now, a little over a year.
15 months.
So yeah, we have 3 little girls.
And then we have 2 with 1 on the way.
I know.
Crazy. So I have a pregnant wife. That is fun. All the dads out there understand. If you know, you know. But I have my oldest, Zion, is 4. He's going to be 5 this year. And Kobe is his own person. And he is going to be 2 pretty soon here. Probably by the release of this, he will be 2. And then
his party's coming up.
Yes. And our 3rd child, I won't say her name, but we're having a girl. So,
I'm so
our
excited.
first going to be a girl dad, and it will be our last. We are 3 and done.
3
and
is a lot.
It is.
You're outnumbered.
2 is like, man, should we stay here and
It's
be
comfy.
good?
Yeah.
2 is comfy. And they
So-
grow and they play together, and you're like, that's comfy.
Yeah. So this is going to be fun.
3 is stretching.
2023 is going to be the year of 3 for us. So
Cute.
yeah.
So sweet. I did a fishtail braid. If you have daughters, you'll know. But a fishtail braid for one of my daughters, and I text Chantel. I'm like, I did this morning, and you're gonna do it one day too.
Oh,
So sweet.
Anyway, so we're very excited. But we are gonna just talk about all the things you need to know.
With
Well, maybe
young
not
kids.
all.
Not all the things,
But
but
we're gonna
we
do our
are
best.
deep in young kids.
we're in the middle of it.
Yeah,
So
we're in
in-
it with you.
We're if you've got young kids, which would be a lot of youth pastors that I know have young kids, or youth leaders.
If you have older kids and you're further along,
man, you would teach us
that's
something.
amazing.
Yes.
Yes. Maybe we'll give you some
If they
pointers,
can
but
teach us,
hopefully
if
you
they
could teach
remember.
us. Yeah.
If they
Because I've
remember.
met a lot of people, they just don't remember.
They're like,
that.
I don't
You know,
remember those
sometimes,
years.
sometimes you black out on
That's
certain
true.
seasons.
It's just a blur. It's a blur of tired.
My favorite is when you talk to a couple and one will be like, I don't really remember, and the other person goes, I remember.
Let me remind you.
Let me
Yeah.
remind you. So there's some seasons of blur when you have a lack of sleep for so many months at a time. You're like,
Yes.
I can't remember if it's day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't remember Harper's first few months because she screamed all the time.
Yeah, it was an
She was
intrigue.
like colicky
Yes,
and had
I
all
was
this stuff.
colic.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
hard. So I don't really remember details of that.
Anyways.
But anyway, wow. We are going to talk about, first thing we want you to learn or glean from is one thing you're going to have to do with marriage and kids in ministry. You got to redefine success. Honestly, I'm not even sure that's just about ministry. I just think once you have kids, you just got to redefine it.
Life.
They will force you to.
Yes, they just are a whole different thing that you're adding in. And some days,
Do you know it's the number one advice I give to every person that's pregnant with their first kid? When they ask me, they go, "What's one thing I need to know?" No, regardless of where they work or anything, I'm like, you have to redefine success in your life.
The reason you want to redefine success, this is the why behind this, is because you realize that you're thriving more than you think you are.
yeah.
When you redefine success, you begin to see the world a little bit differently, and you don't feel like you're being dragged. Me and Chantel have this analogy where we feel like we're being dragged by a horse. Like you're trying to ride this horse, but when you redefine success, okay, man, maybe it's not as crazy. This is a season. This is okay. It puts things into perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because honestly, when you realize, you'll realize it fast. Wow, I can't get out of the house in 5 minutes. Oh, I physically, even if I try, cannot get to something on time, or we will be 45 minutes early because we started 4 hours early.
Yes.
There's no middle.
Chantel was away. I forget where she was, and I had both boys, and I was like, "Man, I'll be able to get out of the house." It took me an hour.
Yeah, you just can't do it. And so
It's so
like from
hard.
start
I don't
to
know
finish,
why.
big hour.
Between getting them in the car, one has to go to the bathroom, you take
Oh.
them back in, both are crying, you take all of them in, then they all get back. I'm hungry. Yeah, I mean, this is crazy.
Literally 2 weeks ago, I think I went in the house 7 times.
No, it's shocking.
While they were in the car.
Shocking.
Oh,
You're like, I don't know what I don't know.
This is why I said in marriage podcast that being married really killed my selfishness, but then kids just
they
dug it deep into the ground. They killed it.
And you kind of got to think through a little differently. Like your capacity is being stretched at such a radical rate.
Yes.
That if you're unaware of that, you can feel like, why can't I do the things I used to do?
Yeah.
That's what I think you need to redefine.
Why can't I do the thing I used to do? And you have to go, well, because you're doing a new thing.
Yes.
And you're growing a whole human and keeping them alive.
I just think when you first have kids and each kid after, you have to slow down for a season.
Yes.
You got to pull back so you don't die and kill yourself,
your spouse,
children.
or your children. You don't want to get mad at your children as if they're stealing your dreams, because they are your dream.
And it's easier to slow down in the way you need to if you can redefine what is success in that season.
Yes.
Also, another helpful tip for this was a game changer for me in ministry, because ministry can demand a lot of you and it's your job. And so you want to be responsible. I'm like a work ethic. My dad drilled that into me. If you show up and you serve well, you know? And so I remember Leslie, who's one of my spiritual moms, gave me the best advice of your kids are your grace meter. And if your kids don't have grace for it, you need to listen, because it's easy for people that are just doers and goers and keep moving. And you're like, you could push past right through your kid's grace meter. And that's when people start to suffer and start to feel it. You know, I've had multiple meetings where I literally came because I was supposed to, and my kids couldn't handle it. And you know what I did?
I left the meeting. And here's what, if you're sitting there and you're like, I can't do that in my church or with my job, you have to realize you can. Like, this is the painful stuff to go, I would rather take the hit of having a hard conversation to make sure my kids are okay, because that's my value. And if we can't work that out, then maybe this isn't the space for me. But I have to actually protect that value first. You can. It's that power again to go, oh, I'm responsible for my kids. I can't go, God, you have them, and I'm going to just do whatever I feel like I need to do and take no responsibility. And I think that's the hard part, is like, especially in ministry, because you can warp in that God card and that God part. You're like, oh, well, then God will take care of my kids. God will do everything. So I just need to keep doing exactly what I'm called to do, not realizing when you have kids, that's part of your call.
They're your first.
They're your first yes. They're not even a comparison with ministry. You're going, oh, they are what I am called to protect.
Yeah, because what would you say when people ask that question? How do you?
Yeah, I've heard this. I can't remember who exactly it was.
A lot of people say.
A lot of people say it, this whole thing of like, how do you balance, marriage, ministry, family, and you can't balance them because they're not equal weights or equal values. Like, ministry does not even compare to your kids and family and marriage. It's not even on the same playing field. It doesn't even exist on the same measuring line. And so you have to think like, oh, if my kids, like, we have a grid, me and Mari, we will watch, and if our girls comment something or start having attitudes or start having something come up that I'm like, this is not like you. We adjust quickly. That means we're going to cancel people that if we had people coming over and, or we had stuff we were going to do, and, our oldest sometimes like, oh, I miss you. Like, Mom, I want both of you to put us to bed. Even if one of us has been there and we're like, oh, you want both? Okay, then we're going to adjust because you're actually calling out right now with a desire. And if we fulfill this, your needs being met. And then you feel safe and you feel heard and you feel like you can talk to mom and dad about something, even if you don't even know what you just did. I'm aware of it. We're aware of it. And we go, oh, we're going to change it, and we'll go after you go to bed. Like, we won't even tell you. You won't even feel it. A lot of times, me and Mari, we will sacrifice our time at night to hang out with people or to go somewhere to make sure our kids have a consistency at bedtime, because they love when we're both home. We don't do it all the time, but we make it a point and we're listening. Or if all of a sudden one of our kids just starts having meltdowns, which happens, we're not like, what's wrong with you? You're this age. You should be figuring this out. The first indication is we're too busy. What's happening? They lost their grace for this season. We as a family need to realign.
I remember one time Zai was like, just having like a week where he was just off, and I knew it. I was like, man, why is, and I came to you and I was like, bro, I don't know what is happening, but it just seems like he's very like, really like, having a lot of fits and tantrums, like unlike, you know, Zai and how
Unlike
he is.
normal, you know, kids throw fits, but
Yeah.
the
You had
unnormal.
mentioned, you know, how much time, like, have you been taking them out, or maybe you should try to take them on like daddy son dates and that kind of thing. And you had given me an example, and that was so helpful. And it was one of the seasons that I realized Zai is quality time. Like his love language is quality time. And so me giving him my eyes, giving him that reserved time where it's just him and I, and we go out and do something, even for a couple of hours, it lasts for weeks.
It does.
Like,
it's shocking the little intentionality.
And
you can
one
do.
thing that helped me redefine success when we started having kids in ministry is one of my mentors was like, who cares if you have the biggest, most amazing ministry in the world if your kids aren't connected to you by the end of it?
Yep.
She goes,
Yeah.
I would way rather my kids be in heaven with me than we have
Connected.
saved it a bunch of people I don't know.
Wow.
My first ministry is my kids. Not that I don't want to see thousands saved. I do.
Yeah.
But I don't want my kids to pay the price for that.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that they felt mom was present and can be connected to me. When we're 70 years old, they want to come to our house and bring all their children. That is my greatest dream in life.
Yeah. Now, if
is
you
to
don't
be
want that
connected.
dream, I want that dream. I
I
want
want
to be
that.
the house where all the in-laws, all the fam comes
Yes.
to. And
But if you want that, you have to start
that's being
right
built.
now.
It's
It's
being
being
built.
Yes.
built. It is the space of you
The
work
connections
backwards.
we build right now.
Yes.
Like we are starting to recognize the ages, the 0 to 6 season is a huge season. I'm
So
finding out all these
many.
psychologists are talking about that, the child development. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a Kairos moment, a significant moment in time where I'm
Where
building
most people
things.
think that the junior high and high school years are like, oh, when you get to those years, you got to be really intentional.
do.
And you do. But I would say it starts at 0 to 6 because you are already teaching your kids, am I safe? Am I chosen?
Yes.
Can I tell you everything?
I think someone said by the age of 5, they will have learned how to perceive the world, if it's safe or if they're anxious or if it's peace. Like what kind of atmosphere they grew up in is how they'll perceive the world.
Yes. It's
By the age of 5.
And so you're
Crazy.
going, every part of my
crazy.
life and home, we have to make sure we are aware of what we're creating.
Right.
Because what I mean by then the later years is don't be shocked at what grows.
Yeah.
Be intentional about what you're sowing.
So good.
And so like we're going, oh man, we need to sow very intentional seeds, even when it feels like you're like, they don't even know themselves.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out their own personalities.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure them out.
Yeah.
But all we know is like, man, if something's off, we're stopping. And that's the most important conversation.
Yeah.
The most important thing we're doing is going, what's happening with our kids? And how do we make sure that we get them back to a place of
Yeah. I'm just
feeling
going to say that
safe.
quote again. Don't be shocked by what grows. Be intentional about sowing.
yes.
Yes.
It's just so
That's
good.
a good one.
Yes.
Kids
it
are your
starts-
first
here was
ministry.
even- this is crazy, and I'll give you guys something that me and Mara had to do. And the Lord will work out everything as you trust Him, and if you put family first, He cares so deeply about family. He will navigate you. So when we had our oldest, Mari worked full time, and so did I. And she was in the dental field. I worked as the associate youth pastor. And for the first 18 months of our oldest life, we had a full-time, a full-time babysitter.
Was
I mean,
it
it was
18 months? Really?
maybe 14 months.
I don't remember. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 18. I think it was 18
Something
months. And, but we noticed she was struggling so much with separation anxiety. She we were everything. And so we had this babysitter that would come like in the middle of the day. And so it wasn't like full days, but it was enough of a day, and I'd get off work and come home and do it. And we started noticing, we're like, man, Brooklyn's not okay. This is not working. And we need a game plan fast. And I don't know how we're going to afford it, but you can't keep working like this. And we just trusted the Lord and almost knew we're about to have to change a job that you make so much money. We are financially really set up well, but our child is not thriving.
Yeah.
And so we just trusted and started really leaning in. And within it was probably 4 to 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks of us having this conversation, a part-time flexible job opened up. Mari took way pay cut, way under everything we were making. We had to adjust hard our life. But it was the first moment to go, oh, we're choosing our kids over money, over a finance stress-free life, over all of this. Because it was like, she's not doing well.
Right.
And if we keep this pace, and what's crazy is the moment Mari did it, within 2 weeks, the behavior changed. Yeah. Instantly started trusting people, started going to people, didn't need to be with us all the time, didn't scream all the time. Totally different experience of a kid. Everyone was like, what happened? And we're like, oh, thank God we trusted and we listened. She just needs mom at home more stable, so that when other people come in the house, she's more adventurous to get to know them. It's just little stuff like that I think that we can get frustrated at our kids because we want our life to look and feel a certain way instead of adjusting.
And I think that's really important to identify. Are you trying to get your life to look and feel a certain way that it's not the season for, or it's not where God has you? Because I think you could get really frustrated and start to really go after things that there's no grace for if you're not realizing oh man, we're in a season where we need to pull back.
Yes.
We're in a season where, okay, our kids need our eyes. They need our face. They need our time. Those are the things that if you're not talking about it, and me and Chantel, we're like go-getters. We go get in our sleep. And if we're not intentional about, hey, how are we actually slowing down? We need clear plans of how we're not doing things. And we know that about ourselves. This is why we have y'all in our lives, to call it out, to speak it. Hey, you look tired. You need to sleep. This is what Rory just told me yesterday. You know what I did last night? I went to sleep. I didn't do anything. I went straight to bed.
That's good.
And so but you have to be aware and humble enough to say, man, we have that thing that would say, oh, we keep going, and not realizing oh, we need to slow down.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I think it's important to have that communication, talk about, hey, are we needing to pull back right now? Are you noticing the same thing that I'm noticing?
And I'll say this is just something I want to say with that conversation, because a lot of people will hear this and their first thought is to pull back on job-related responsibilities. No. I think we have to realize when we say family first, it doesn't mean that you now get to tell your workplace, hey, bummer for you. Bummer for you. My family's first, so I'm not going to do everything you've asked. All of us have enough time to do everything we're called to do.
Yes.
But sometimes we have to redefine what we're called to do in different seasons and go, oh, I'm called to my kids. I actually wasn't called to hang out and to go see those movies and to watch that Netflix show and to do this. And I actually wasn't called to do all of that stuff.
Yes.
I'm actually really called to do this. I'm not called to travel right now. I'm called to do this.
Yes.
I think that's the redefining success, is going, I have said yes to certain things. I have responsibilities. I have to fulfill those.
Yeah. And if you gotta grieve it and let it go. And whatever that process is, you gotta get there.
You gotta get there and go, my family's first. But when I get paid as a job, it doesn't mean my job then matches my family. That never happens. Family's always first.
Right.
Yes.
But it means I have to get really creative and intentional to fulfill my other responsibilities.
It's the belief that I have everything that I need to show up to my family and my call and my responsibilities.
I have
what I need.
Yes. What last thing, then we'll end it, that I really want to hit is I want to talk about discrepancies that your kids would see.
Yeah.
Making sure when your kids find out that you are loving people and leading people, that they feel the same thing from you at home. And part of that looks like humbling ourselves to our kids and being the same. I have this thing of, I don't want to teach teenagers how to hear the voice of God and not teach my own children how to hear the voice of God.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I want to
So
I bring God into our home. I turn on worship music, and sometimes they hate it. And I'm like, sorry, mommy needs this. It makes me better.
Yeah.
Jesus is all that I need right now. So just pump your brakes, sweetie. We need to turn on Upper Room. Okay. That's what we're going to do. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need the atmosphere of this house to change. Put a little lavender in my diffuser. Upper Room is on. Yes, God, here we go. But honestly, I even think like if I make a mess with my kid and I freak out because I'm stressed or I'm hurried because of work,
Right.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Say,
Yes.
mommy shouldn't have gotten so hurried. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That wasn't fair to you. Because I want, when my kids see me leading worship, I don't want them to be like, that's not who I see at home.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's
I
been
never
times,
want my child to have that thought of, or she takes care of everyone else, but I don't feel taken care of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that would crush me to the soul.
Yeah.
That I
Yes.
serve and love people well, but my own kids feel like they suffer, and I never want that discrepancy. And so I make sure, integrity wise, before me and God,
Yes.
that I'm humbling enough to my child. If I make a mess, I own it. And then I also
Yeah.
try to bring the spirituality of Jesus, God himself in the flesh, Emmanuel with us. So even if my kids choose to stumble along the way,
Yeah.
one day when they leave my house, they'll know the presence of God lived there, and I know it's possible, and I could go back at any moment.
And I want to say this because I've heard this from leaders, and I've started it with our boys.
Mm-hmm.
But the benefit that our kids get from us being in ministry.
Yep.
And I'm talking about just small things. We have a small group that we have at our house, where, I have a group of boys that come over and they hang out with us, and Zai sometimes just walks throughout and
Yes.
he's hanging out and stuff. And just this past Sunday, the kids brought some donuts, and Zai was headed with Chantel to go get groceries, and he was like, "Can you save me a sprinkled donut?" And I told all those kids, I was like, do not touch that sprinkled donut that's in there. Make sure, I almost thought one of the sprinkled donuts would take it. And I was like, hey, break a piece of your sprinkled donut. We're going to leave that for Zai.
Yes.
And
they do get so many benefits. I mean, think about we have a youth leadership team of amazing young people, and I'm like, oh my gosh, our kids are surrounded by amazing God-filled, powerful men and women.
Yep.
And I'm like, it's amazing that my daughters have not just Rory as a powerful,
Yes.
safe man figure in their life. They have a you.
Yes.
They have our
Multiple.
So
Jordan,
special.
Felipe. They have
Multiple
so
people.
many people because of the price that we get to pay for the Lord of ministering,
Yep.
and the people that he surrounds us with are a benefit
Yes.
to my child. I allow people into my world, and my kids benefit from that.
Yeah.
And I want to say one other thing, just a sidetrack that I was thinking of, just regarding responsibility, ministry, all of this stuff with our kids. Something I try to do really well is remembering my kids' age, because sometimes you can be in a rush to get to a meeting and your kid needs that one last hug. And if you don't know how to remember that they're 5 and 3, and that hug is more important than being on time, even if you're an on-time person. I'm an on-time person. Being late is one of the hardest things for me in my life. I have to be early. I am 5 to 10 minutes early everywhere. If I'm late, I am dying. And I had to kill that thing, because I was like, I will hurt my kids in this season because they don't understand. And if I rush out of this house because I need to get somewhere and I don't stop to give that hug because they need it, I'm choosing something else over them, over my own preference of I just don't like to be late. I would rather just have to clean up the mess of being late, but at least I knew I was actually there to give the last hug and the last kiss and the last goodbye and the whole routine, knowing I'm going to be late.
I've backed my car up to get out of the car and go hug Zai.
Yes.
Again.
Oh, you have to. And so I just want us to be that thing of remembering their age, remembering the importance of this and the benefits that you never are choosing. I think it was when you were talking about just you want that integrity. I never want them to feel my dad was too busy.
Right.
So even bedtime, we are so aware of bedtime, the routine and making sure we're there and that we do certain things. Cause I'm I want them to go, wow, Dad, I didn't even know you did stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know you did so much at night, because my whole childhood, I remember you were there, and I'm yep, we were just sneaky.
Yeah.
We're good at it.
Yeah. Anyway, there's so much more we could say.
Yes.
We're going to end
Our
it
time
today
is
because
done.
it's a little over time. But be present with your kids. They are your first ministry.
It's true.
And God will take care of you and honor your family. It is an honor to fulfill the call of God on your life. And it's a family job. It's not just a one-person job.
It's true.
So we love you guys.
Love you guys.
We'll see you next time.